maybe their mom was too hard on them when they were growing up. If your goal is ultimately a high performance, cross functional, self organizing, multi skilled team, then what do you need to do? Number one, and really like such a critical first step, and most organizations actually skip this step. They go to the other steps, but they skip this one, which is number one, all of this starts with permission. The people on your team need to be absolutely clear, and the permission needs to be public that self-organizing is okay, maybe even beyond okay, that it's expected. One aspect of that might be public statements by senior leaders, written documentation to individuals, right? So, e.g., an email, right, from a boss that says, "Yeah, it's okay. Please go ahead and self-organize." For what it's worth, that permission needs to include a definition of what self-organizing is, because a lot of people don't actually necessarily know. Like, if you're in the agile space for a long time, or even if you're a manager, you kind of get it. But, right, like, what does that mean? And another aspect of permission that's really important, and this is sort of often missed as well, is changes to HR expectations. Like, if someone still has the same old role and title, they're still having their performance be evaluated based on, the strict role definition. The changes here don't have to be huge. Like, it can be just like one little addition that says, and a part of your performance is the degree to which you contribute to the team in a self-organizing fashion. But people need permission. That's not the end, right? You need more than just permission. And the second thing you need, and that's really the thing that's the go light, if you will, is strong motivation. Okay. And this is usually a compelling vision statement for the end results. It's not, here's the solution we want you to implement. It's the problem we're trying to solve, why it's important, who it's important for, and so on and so forth, right? So usually when you're trying to create motivation, there's a few things you need to leverage. One of them is that it's got to be something that's really simple and clear. Clear and singular, right? Like, it's not multiple things. Another thing you need is that there needs to be a sense of urgency. And a healthy urgency is, why now, not later? Right? So that can be a few different things. It can include like a window of opportunity, a natural deadline. Okay, like not an arbitrary one, like, oh, we need to improve our third quarter results. No, a natural deadline is like, oh, shit, we just missed Black Friday sales period, and we damn well better not miss it next year. That's a natural deadline. Another thing is like some sort of burning platform, right? We've got an internal problem where a client has a problem that's really, really urgent that we need to fix, and there's no time factor in an explicit sense, but someone somewhere is suffering, basically, right? Okay, and then the third thing that you need is an emotional connection to the work. And usually this is done through empathy. Who is suffering? That's connected sometimes to the sense of urgency, but sometimes it's separate. And then the final thing here, and this is more a job for the product owner, but as a Scrum Master or coach or a manager, you can help with this, is relentless communication of the vision. And relentless is like way more than anyone ever thinks it should be. It's like every bloody meeting you're in, no matter how trivial, you gotta return to the vision right at the start of the meeting. First thing, always. That creates an environment of strong motivation, right? But even that is not quite enough. Number 3, true empowerment with skills. So just saying stuff like giving permission and having a vision isn't enough. There has to be real opportunities to learn new skills, and without fear of failure, right? That's obviously number 1 and number 2 help with that, but really true empowerment to build new skills, like people like learning. So where are the opportunities to learn new skills? And there's a couple things that are important here as well that are in a sense kind of obvious, but sometimes we forget, right? Like, it's what does someone want to learn? Not necessarily what is obviously needed for the team or the project. Or when people want to learn, they start to want to learn more. And so it's almost always best to start where someone wants. Another piece of it, which is just as important, is transparency about the skills gap or gaps in the team. Okay, so for example, single points of failure, right? Where is there a skill set that only one person has, or non-expert level critical skills, right? So you might have a whole bunch of people who are intermediate with a skill set, and that's good enough most of the time, but then sometimes it blocks the work because they're not at an expert level, right? Create that transparency. And by the way, there's a nice technique there, which is the Agile Skills Matrix. So people need to know what is needed. They need to know that they can learn what they want, okay? And they need to be given practical opportunities. In most large organizations, people have like professional development budgets, for example, and that's a good starting place, right? But you should also be leveraging things like retrospectives. Retrospectives can and should be learning environments. And so like when there's a problem, solve it with the team right there and then in the retrospective, rather than making it an action item. And then finally, I mean, this is the one that I like the most, but is sometimes hard to set up, things like pair or mob programming. So for cross-training. Those are the main things there. The last point about fear of failure is that when people make mistakes in the learning process, they have to be supported instead of in any way, shape, or form shamed or unappreciated, right? Learning failures, no shame. And the problem is that people bring shame about failure into their work environments. So you have to overcome that. And it's often really subtle, and people aren't even conscious of it, right? Like it's just a subtle discomfort of not wanting to change because, I don't know, maybe their mom was too hard on them when they were growing up, or whatever, right? Like whatever it is, that shame is something that is really profound and yet very subtle for a lot of people. And so overcoming that means often starting really small and actually celebrating small failures. Like that's the tricky bit. Like you can't just acknowledge them, you have to celebrate small failures often at first to get past that shame.